More faces here today. Well, just like all of you, I was watching Monday Night Football too, which I normally do, and witnessed what we all saw. You know, our game can be violent. I mean, it's a contact sport, and injuries happen, but you don't. You assume that an injury like that won't happen. And I found myself, I don't know DeMar, I've never met him, but I think we all feel like we do when you're part of this close-knit football fraternity. On our football team, we do have members that do know him personally. Jock Sussera, that coaches our defensive line, coached him last year on the staff there. Mario Addison, Jerry Hughes were teammates with DeMar last year with the Bills. And then it goes all the way back. Jimmy Morrissey spent 5 years at the University of Pittsburgh with DeMar. And Kirk Heinrich was a high school teammate. So we, of course, when people that you know personally are that close, you even feel like you even know them a little bit more. But watching it was tough. You had to think about, as a parent, his parents and everybody that loved him as he fought for his life on the field. What I also saw was natural emotion on how much people care. From the opponent across the field with the Cincinnati Bengals, of course, and watching their team, from coaches, administrators, of course the players. What I also saw that night was how people pulling together, the medical team, and how they went into work to save his life. But that is football, and some things can happen like that. On how we've handled it since then, I thought it would be wise to let the guys have another day yesterday to kind of reflect, to just kind of take all this in. And we made, our mental health clinicians and all the people that I know could, help guys that may need to talk to someone available. And our players came back in today. We tried to get on a regular, as much of a regular routine as we possibly could. We normally start our day off with a team meeting. We were able to do that today, and had from, of course, the person that's in charge of our mental health here leading the meeting, and we just let the guys know that what they're feeling right now is kind of natural. We're all kind of feeling some of the same things, and but we're going to get through this together. Let everybody kind of talk a little bit, the ones that really wanted to. And the guys I mentioned that know DeMar personally, I think it was good for them to let the team know a little bit about him, let all of us know a little bit about him. So that's where we are with that. We're going to do, I know organizationally, we're going to do whatever we can to help, the Bills and anyone else that we feel like we can help, doing our part. I know one thing that and when you feel like you're far away and you can't do an awful lot, I'm a believer, so I believe in prayer that it helps. And I know he had a lot of people praying for a speedy recovery, and we hope that he gets better and better each day. Football-wise, on where we are, we have another game to play. As I said, we're going to try to get into as much of a normal routine as we possibly can today, and get ready to play our last game of the season. So that's where we are. Take your question.
The sentiments that were shared with former teammates, those that know him, what were some of the general thoughts about him? We've heard really great things about him.
Well, the general thoughts is just that. He's a great guy that loves to play the game of football. I think most of us are kind of aware of the outside charity that he that he formed to, to collect toys for kids in his area. He's a guy from the Pittsburgh area that, again, played high school ball there, stayed there to the University of Pittsburgh. And so he was involved. That's what the sentiment was. The guys that knew him with the Bills just talked about how good a teammate he was, always had his iPad with him, talking football, trying to learn football. And for me, just as a player, 6th-round draft pick, odds are against him. Odds probably been against him a lot in his life, and he's overcome them. But to know what he had to do to make the roster, and as we talk to our guys always, you need to be ready. Unfortunately, another injury happened, and he got a chance to play. And I know he was playing outstanding football this year for the Bills.
Lovie, how different? You've been doing this for so long. I'm sure you've seen so many different things. But, I mean, this, in many ways, is a completely we've never seen a situation like this.
Yes.
Especially in this modern era. How difficult is this to prepare your team to deal with everything, just to get this entire organization through this week?
It is, first off, it's hard, and I have been in football a little bit longer than most of the guys in our locker room experiences. And I've been teams that have had some serious injuries, but not one like this that played out right in front of all of us. But on how we get through it is that I think when times like this happen, you see how close you are. And we do. Everybody say, hey, it's a family here. We do have that. And guys genuinely care. And I think what we all saw is that you can compete hard against someone and try to win and do everything possible. But once someone is in need, on how you gather together, how you come together. And that's where we are. And it's just starting. I mean, I know it happened Monday. And there's a lot of tough days ahead. But I know we're going to all go through it together. And then just emotions that you feel. I mean, for our guys to know that whatever you're feeling right now, we're in different, we know them differently and different place. And letting the guys know that that's okay too. And I talk to them as a head football coach, but also Nick, our general manager, of course, talk to them organizationally. Guys, on wherever you are, we're here to support you wherever you are in your journey going through all of this. Yes, we finished with I talked about, my belief in prayer and a lot of others on things that we can do. These are all the things that we've done. And what the guys want to do, they wanted to have that to talk it out. But what they also want to do is they want to play too. So getting back into as much of a normal routine as we can is also part of it.
Lovie, you kind of touched on that just now, but there's been some talk at the league level about pushing all of this week's games back a week just to let people kind of get through this and have a week to recover from the shock.
Yes.
How do you feel about that possibility?
Well, I think during times like this, we have to follow our lead of our leaders, our commissioner. If that's the case, that's what we'll do. Right now the games are still on, so you have to keep when, tragic things happen. The best way to kind of deal with it sometimes is to get back into your routine as much as possible. If that's the case, we'll deal with it then. Right now we're going on like there'll be a game this week.
Well, is anything that you saw with DeMar Hamlin, does it change the way that you view the game?
No, not at all. It's physical contact that happens throughout. I'm sure DeMar has been a lot of tackles. Each one of our guys, each play. There's a lot of games going on, not just in NFL, college, all the way down. I have young grandchildren. We have a lot of people playing football, and not just football, other contact sports, where sometimes bad things just happen. But no, it hasn't changed anything. Right now, I think the guys we try to make it where they're as safe as possible with how we teach tackling, blocking, all of those things, how we protect defenseless players. There's a lot of safeguards in place right now to make our game as safe as it can possibly be, I feel.
Maybe alongside that, part of what this experience was remembering the fragility of life at times. What things do you have to go through to step back into this space? I mean, you've been around this league for a while, and the players themselves, what things do you have to get through to come back into this?
Well, I think when we start playing sports just in general, there's a lot of coach talk that you give. One is always to play each down like it should last. And as I get up into the years a little bit, not a little bit, if I get up, this day, I don't take life for granted. And just being able to live a full life each day, making the most of it, appreciating what we have here, our team. Now, me talking about our Houston Texans football team. We have a bunch of special men. We genuinely care about each other. Now, if one of our players had a major injury or something serious happened to him, it would be obvious then. But what I see is that every day guys genuinely just caring about each other. So it's no more than that. We take that with everything that we do. Life is precious. It can change at any time. That's reality in our world.
In your opening comments, you mentioned that lauding the personnel staff, medical personnel on the field, how they reacted to that. Have you had a chance to reach out or get with Coach McDermott or Coach Taylor on how they handled everything, and what did you think about that?
Well, I haven't had a chance to talk to Coach McDermott. On their staff, the Buffalo Bills staff, 3 of the coaches on their staff have been on staffs that I've been a part of too. Leslie Frazier, Rob Boris, and Eric Washington, and Bobby Babbage also. So 4 guys I know personally, and what we all did is like everyone, you're trying to reach out. What can I do to support you? We're praying for you. A lot of our guys, of course, have already made donations, but what else can we do? And you feel their pain, and you know exactly what they're going through. But sometimes just people knowing that you support them is enough. Is enough to maybe get them, make it a little bit easier. That's what we've done so far.
Lovie, your organization donated $10,000 free dollars to the Mars Toy Drive fundraiser foundation. Millions have come in from all over the country. What have you thought about all that?
I think that that just shows you the good in our country and just people in general, all different walks of life. And as far as our organization, we here at Uvalde, we've gone through some tough times, and our players on how they stepped up when people in our community has been in need. It's gone through tragic things. So, of course, our organization, I knew what the organization would do officially. But there's so much more going on unofficially, too, from people in our organization to just try to help out. And not just ours, I mean all, on how, again, the opponent across the field, how Zach's team, the Bengals, on how Mike Brown's team, on how they handled it. And just think about 32 teams all trying to do whatever they can to just help.
Is there ever any concern about how your players might approach the first time getting back on the field, even with all that you guys have been doing?
Yes. I mean, that's one of the things we've talked about, too. First from an organization about this game. You got to live in a short-term world, I think. And that was first about, a day off. Now coming back today, we're getting through the day with our routine, how we make that safe. But eventually, yes, if there's a game, guys are going to put on the pads and everything that comes in. But we have a few days to prep as much as anything. But I think they've been dealing with that all their life, knowing that there's some danger involved in it.
Do you think there should be games this weekend?
Do I think? I'm going to trust eventually football will be played. Eventually. And we understand that it's a violent sport. I don't think and first off for me on what we're all trying to gather is exactly what happened. And is it just, I wouldn't say that it's just football. I would say that every sport where contact is involved, some freak things can happen that are bad. So I'm going to go with what our leaders tell us. And by me being a football coach, I know there's risk involved, but that's something that we've all chosen to be a part of.
Lovie, you mentioned earlier that there were multiple players and coaching that were around DeMar throughout his entire life. Have you individually spoken to them just because of the personal impact that they've gone through with this?
You say the coaches?
Coaching staff, Jerry, Mark, Rio,
Yeah.
all the players, individually have you spoken to them?
Yeah, spoken, of course, each one of them individually. Before we met as a football team, I wanted them to tell me. Again, as I said earlier, I've never met DeMar. I wanted to hear high school, it's like college, and guys, and of course, so yes, talked to all of them. And we talked about the players, but from Jock to Sarah too. And I mentioned the coaches that, what I also know, I know Sean McDermott is a heck of a guy, strong believer, great leader. I know how he's leading their football team through this tough time. I also know about the guys that I mentioned, Leslie Frazier, Rob Boris, Eric Washington, Bobby Babbage. I know what these guys, these are family men, and I know they're giving the guys exactly what the players probably need right now. But that's, again, guys, this sport that we're in, this football I'm talking about, but that's what these relationships, we talk and say that it's bigger than football. It really is. Life is bigger than football, but for us, our life is football is a part of our life, and we accept that.
Lovie, you've had a lot of experience coaching and playing in the league, so do you have any experience, well, nothing can compare directly to that, but anything that you can draw on for the players?
Well, this is as I said, I've never actually where something like this happened, but have I? DP, you see me. I've been in a few games, and you go through seasons. Some bad things happen, but I've had a family member way back with tragic that from a concussion that passed away. So I think there's a lot of things that can possibly happen, but if you just think about the amount of games that's played, there's not really that many serious injuries. One is too many, but it's hard to just be totally safe on some things.
Lovie, it's honestly a traumatic experience watching what happened to DeMar. Football players are seen as warriors. Never want to admit that they're hurting about anything. As the face of this franchise, a father figure, a son, how important is it for you to tell the guys, look, this is the time to admit if you're impacted by this, if it affected you, the mental health aspect?
Well, first off, I think the guys, our relationship is pretty deep that we have before we get in that situation. But it's very important. Of course, we've done all of that. And we've all let our guard down a little bit. Yeah, you're right, gladiate warriors and all that, but not in these circumstances right here. If you just look a snapshot of when DeMar went down and what's happening, and you saw the expressions on all of the players' faces, that was happening right then. How many other places do you think you could have gotten the same snapshot on what's going on? And especially from the football players who play. Yeah, as I said earlier, I watched it as a parent. I'm a parent granddad. I went into that role on what his parents are feeling right now. Tried to. I also went into Zach and Sean's role as a coach, looking at one of our players out there on the football field. And it's the same feeling. That you have. You're just sick. And you start, what can I do? When something is wrong, what can I do to help? And when you're away and you can't do an awful lot, times like this, I'm glad I am a believer, where you can start praying. And think about all of the people that have been praying for DeMar. I can't wait for him to come back, all right, be healthy and whole, and for him to see how much people, that impact that he has had.
Thank you, Coach.
So, Lovie, you have that moment at home, like millions that witness this. Did you get a first call from somebody that was on the coaching staff, a player? What was that moment when you knew that your space was entered by somebody outside of your home? Did you call somebody, or did someone call and say, can you believe what just happened?
We were, Monday night is, coaches grind. So Monday night is game plan night. We were here. That's what we were. So, and most of the time on a Monday night, the Monday night game is always on. In my office, you have the Monday night game and you have the opponent game over here. So That's what I was doing. But once it did happen, you all start coming together and start talking about it then. And just like a lot of you, I went home, who's the first person going to call me? Marianne Smith, all right? Did you see? You go home, and then I just open it up, and we've been talking about it ever since.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
See something happen like Monday night, versus some of your emotions and thoughts and kind of how you process and how sort of get back into football and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely tough, the whole situation that's going on. I mean, watching it as a player in football, there's injuries that are always going to happen, but the extent of them and how extreme the whole situation is, I mean, you never want to see something like that happen. I know it was tough for both teams out there to have to go through that, and I mean, thoughts and prayers to DeMar and his family, the whole Bills organization. I mean, it's a tough situation. I know a lot of guys are taking it extremely hard. We have a handful of guys on this team who have played with DeMar before and have known him for a long time. I mean, it's just tough. I mean, it's kind of, you lose words when you talk about things like this, but I mean, I think the result of what happened and how the NFL has come together, and really just everyone who's a fan of the NFL and has seen anything about it, I mean, the outreach and the positives that have come for this have been really good. And I mean, I think everyone's glued to their phones and TVs trying to wait for positive news to come out, and I think it slowly has been, but I mean, everyone's just thinking and praying about him to get better.
How emotional was it hearing from some of his former teammates that are your teammates now, Kurt, Mario, those guys?
It's tough. I mean, I talked to Jimmy the other day right after it happened, and I mean, he was at Pitt with him for 4 or 5 years. They were in the same recruiting class, and you only hear good things about DeMar as a person. Loves football, loves his family. I mean, it's just tough. People are going through it in different ways and find ways to cope with it. But, I mean, everyone's mindset's the same. We all just want to see him get better and hopefully come out on the other side playing football.
David, how do you feel about getting back on the field this week and playing a game in light of what happened on Monday?
It's tough. I mean, you don't want to think about it too much, but playing football my whole life and everyone in there, I mean, injuries are part of the game, so I think when you go out there and you're playing timid, I think it makes it even more of a chance to get injured. So I don't know what the decisions will be around the league, but the mindset of all the players are, I mean, first of all, we want DeMar to come back healthy and fully recover, but when we have this opportunity to go out there and play football, we're going to play full speed, even though it's going to be tough.
How have you personally processed this?
Probably similar to a lot of guys. You're just kind of reacting to what happened. You feel for all the guys who are on the same team as him or have come against him or played with him in the past. And I mean, first and foremost, we're just trying to keep up to date with how he's doing and making sure he's making a full recovery. But it's kind of one of those things that you're just making sure he's okay before you think about yourself too much.
Davis kind of mentioned it earlier about being mentally prepared for this upcoming week after the incident, but when you see a routine tackle like that lead to the situation, does it put in perspective what this game is and how vital this game can be?
Definitely. I mean, that looked like a routine play. I think there's worse collisions and worse hits that happen every other week. I I mean, it shows how fragile and how just fluke things can pop up in any given week, and it just kind of goes that you can't take anything for granted. Each day is precious. Every breath is precious, and you just want to keep moving forward.
All set? All right. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.